This is the video tutorial for the quiz over inverses of linear functions. When you're finding the inverse, we'll start with number one. When you're finding the inverse, the first thing you need to do is switch your x and y. So instead of y equals, we need to make that x equals negative 1/3 y plus 5. So physically switch your x and y. So now that we've switched x and y, all we're going to do is solve for y. So we want to get y by itself. So that's a plus 5, so I'm going to say minus 5 from both sides. 5 and negative 5 cancels. I cannot combine an x and a 5 because one's a constant, one's a variable, so I just leave it as x minus 5. And then that's a negative 1/3 on the other side, negative 1/3 y on the other side. All right, now I want to get rid of that y 1/3 or negative 1/3. So since we would normally divide by the fraction, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. And I'm going to multiply by the negative 3 over 1. Because I'm going to take the negative, we'll cancel the negative 3, we'll cancel the negative 3, the 1 will cancel the 1. If I multiply that side by negative 3, I have to also multiply the other side by negative 3. So now I'm going to distribute that negative 3 to everything. And that's going to leave me with negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 5 is going to be a positive 15. And on the right side, all I have is y. So I'm going to flip this back around. So y equals negative 3x plus 15. And that is your answer. That is the inverse for number one. Number two, we'll start the same way. First thing we do is we switch the x and y. So x equals 16y minus 49. So now that we've got this x and y switched, we're going to solve for y. So that's, get rid of the minus 49, so that's plus 49, plus 49. The 49s cancel. And that's going to leave us, cannot combine the x and the constant, so that's just going to leave us with x plus 49 equals 16y. That is 16 times y, so I do the opposite. Divide by 16, divide by 16, divide by 16. So I'm going to divide everything by 16. The 16 is canceled, so that's going to leave us with y equals, that's 1x over 16, so if you want, you can rewrite that as 1 over 16x and 49 over 16. If you prefer to just leave it x over 16, you can do that as well. But that is the inverse for number two. Y equals 1/16 x plus 49 over 16. That's your answer for number one and number two. We now move on to number three. Start the same way as we have the previous two. Switch x and y, so instead of y equals, it's going to be x equals y plus 3 over 2. Now I want to solve the y plus 3 on top of the fraction. That serves as a grouping, so I need to get rid of outside the grouping first. So I need to get rid of that divide by 2. Since that's divided by 2, I'm going to multiply by 2. So multiply by 2 on this side, multiply by 2 on this side. So the 2 on top and the 2 on bottom cancel each other. 2 times x is 2x equals y plus 3. Now I'm solving for y, so that's y plus 3, so I'll do the opposite. Get rid of the 3, go minus 3 and minus 3. Once again, I cannot combine the x and the non-x, so that's going to leave us with y equals 2x minus 3. And I just put the y back on the left side so it's in the form you're used to seeing. And that is your answer for number 3. On to number 4, first thing I do, same as the previous, switch my x and y. So instead of y equals, I make that x equals. And then that's going to be 1/3 instead of x. It's going to be y plus 6. So switch x and y. Now we're going to solve for y. So that's plus 6. So I'm going to go minus 6, minus 6. The 6's cancel. And that leaves us with x minus 6 equals 1/3 y. Now to get rid of the 1/3, that's 1/3 times y. So normally we would divide. But since it's a fraction, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So multiply this side by 3 over 1, multiply this side by 3 over 1, which is just 3. So then the 3 cancels the 3, the 1 cancels the 1. So on the other side, I distribute. So I'm going to take the 3 times the x and the 3 times the negative 6. So that's going to give us y equals 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 6 is negative 18. So y equals 3x minus 18. Once again, I put the y back on the left side. So it's what you're used to seeing. And that is your answer for number 4. That concludes the video tutorial for the quiz over inverses of linear functions.